You're listening to the Fierce Fatty Podcast, episode 121, Seeing People After Gaining Weight. Woo! Let's do it.
Perfect.
I'm Victoria Wellesby, TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and fat activist. I have transformed my life from hating my body with desperately low self-esteem to being a courageous and confident, fierce fatty who loves every inch of this jelly. Society teaches us living in a fat body is bad, but what if we spent less time, money, and energy on the pursuit of thinness and instead focused on the things that actually matter, like if pineapple on pizza should be outlawed, or if the mullet was the greatest haircut of the 20th century. So, how do you stop negative beliefs about your fat body controlling your life? It's the Fierce Fatty Podcast. Let's begin. Hello and welcome to this episode where I'm using a different mic. Hopefully, I don't know if you've noticed, some people did, some people didn't, that there's been a high-pitched sound on the podcast, and it's my mic. I've got a nice fancy podcast mic. Something needs to change. I don't know what it is. Anyway, apologies to people who've been listening and been like, oh, this is so fucking annoying. The sound is really shit. I'm using an older mic today to see how that goes. If not, I'll buy a new mic. Or I'll Google how to fix this other mic. Yeah, I'll Google how to fix this other mic. And I'm sure, actually, you know what? This mic that I'm on is the exact same mic that Summer Innanen uses for her podcast. And her podcast sounds great. So maybe I should just stick with this mic and just stop faffing about. Yes. Hey, guess what? I was looking at podcast reviews for this podcast, and thank you everybody for our reviews. I've said in the past, it's so annoying because on Apple you can't see the reviews you can't see audio reviews. You can only see reviews for the country that you're in. But I can kind of change the thingamajig so I can see it for the US as well as Canada. Anyway, I've realised that I haven't asked you to make a review for the podcast in ages because there's hardly any reviews from 2022 and there are no reviews mentioning my new name. And so when I looked at all the reviews and it said Victoria, it gave me kind of gender dysphoria feelings. Like, I was like, oh, it's so hard to explain this gender stuff. But it would be so nice if you could make a review and then be like, Vinny is the Mutt's nuts or something like that. Vinny is a piece of shit and I hate them. Don't say that. Oh, I guess you can say that, but don't say that. Whatever. If you can write a review, and the reason is not just so that I can see my name in lights, it's because more people will find a podcast. And did you know Fierce Fatty Podcast is in the top 2% of podcasts in the world, which sounds really impressive, but it's not actually that impressive because there's something like 2.8 million podcasts. So I'm in the top 2%. And I bet you a lot of those podcasts are like, they've done one episode one time or something. And so the top 2% is in like the top, I don't know, 40,000 or something. Let's do the maths. 2.8 million, 0 divided by 100 times 2. I'm in the top 56,000 podcasts in the world. Who even knew that there were 56,000, never mind 2.8 million podcasts in the world? But yeah, maybe I put it on like different profiles to trick people into thinking that I'm impressive. Yeah, man, my podcast's in the top 2%. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, so anyway, leave me a review, will ya? Will you leave me a review? Will you? You will? Oh my goodness, Uncle! I so appreciate it. Hey, since we've not really had a little chin wag in the last little bit, let me give you an update of my life. I've been dating. I'm still single. Still haven't got any dick. I can't believe this. I'm just very frustrated about this. Oh Lord. So we've been on dates. Great, wonderful, great, wonderful. And had a couple of guys around in the hopes of hooking up, but it didn't work out. One guy came round and it was kind of like, let's see how it goes, and so he came around my place, having a chat on the sofa, because you don't want to like just meet someone and then, I don't know, maybe you do, but I, didn't want to just meet someone and immediately start sucking the dick or whatever. So you can have a bit of a chin wag, see if we actually get on, because I don't want to have sex. I don't know about you, I don't want to have sex with someone and then afterwards find out, I don't know, that they love Donald Trump or something. I don't know, can you imagine if you just, gave someone like the best orgasm ever and they're like, oh my God, yeah, so I really love being a racist or something like that. Then you'd be like, oh, for fuck's sake, I just used my skills on this person and they are not worthy. So anyway, having a chin wag with this guy. And I don't know if I should tell you this story. It might be, is it mean? It might be mean. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. Okay. I'm going to tell you the story, and then if you think that I'm mean, then you'll think that I'm mean. I probably am being mean. Anyway, so let me tell you this story. It's nothing that interesting, but so we're sitting on the sofa, and so I've got Dougal the dog, and Dougal, Dougal kept farting. And it's not like Dougal. Dougal's not that big of a farter. He might fart once, but it's not like some dogs might be farting all night long and it's awful. So Dougal farted, and then like, 5-10 minutes later, I was like, oh, fucking hell, Dougal keeps farting, blooming hell. And then it kept going on. I was like, it's not Dougie. That's not like Dougie. Dougie's not a big farter. So then I was thinking, hang on, is it me? So I have IBS, right? I have IBS. Have I shit myself and I don't realise it? I'm like trying to feel my asshole. Is there shit in my asshole, around my asshole? No, don't think so. Not me. Definitely not me. Okay. Has this guy come in and left like poo on his shoes or something? No, his shoes are not in here. His shoes are at the door. And after a little while, I realised the smell of farts that I was smelling was coming from his mouth. His breath literally smelled like farts. And I was like, am I imagining this? After he left, I Googled it. And it's a thing. Like if you've got some like, your teeth are rotting or some sort of things going on, it can actually smell like farts. I was like, oh shit. We didn't hook up. We didn't kiss. Nothing happened. I think maybe after realizing it was his breath that it was smelling like farts. My sofa was kind of long, so I could kind of, move away a little bit. I think we could kind of get the vibe that nothing was going to happen between us. But oh man, that wasn't fun. Yeah. So that was one dating experience. Another one, a guy came around again in the hopes of maybe a little bit of a hookup, and then he's like, oh, actually, last weekend I got my penis pierced, and so I'm not allowed to have sex for 3 weeks. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. And so then he showed me his knob and stuff, and that was kind of interesting. But I thought, oh, it's probably not going to feel very nice. Don't know, maybe it does. Who knows? But anyway, so wish me luck on my adventures. Maybe next time we talk, I would have been successful in my mission for some sex. It's been, I don't know, 1,000 days. I don't know how many days. That's probably pretty accurate, but yeah. So anyway, I saw an article from the Huffington Post, and I thought, you know what, this is very timely, because a lot of people, a lot of clients, a lot of when I'm doing Q&A calls, people are talking about this very same topic, and that is I have to go back to work, but go back and be in the office, and I've put on weight. And so I saw this post. I gained 70 pounds during COVID. Here's what happened on my first day back in the office. And I was like, excellente, give me a bit of this. I want to hear people's experiences. Written by someone who works for HuffPost. Their name is Emily McCombs. Great ginger hair. Bit of a Jean-G moment. And my hair used to look like that, actually. Yeah, and so she talks about this. It's maybe a 10-minute read, but I'm going to read kind of the last little bit to you, and then we can have a bit of a chin wag about what she has said and her experiences. And this is someone who is fat positive, by the way. Okay, so I'll link to it in the show notes. Show notes you'll find at fishfatty.com/121 or fishfatty.com/podcast if you can't remember the number of the show. Yeah, so I'm going to read the last bits. Are you comfortable? Then I shall begin. In the privacy of my apartment, with no one to see me, it was easy to slip into brain in a jar mode. But as restrictions began to ease, whether wisely or unwisely, the world and its opinions about the way I look are about to come flooding back in. This got real when my company announced our return to office date last week. For the first time in years, I was going to sit under fluorescent lights and be perceived. I was going to walk farther from my bed to my couch in open terrain. I was going to be confronted with a reflection that contrasted with my mental image of myself in the office full-length bathroom mirror. While I had noticed my weight gain when working from home, I wasn't aware of it on a minute-by-minute basis, and I certainly didn't have to worry about what anyone else thought about it. Not to mention, what was I going to wear? My closets were full of clothes that didn't fit me anymore, and my New York apartment was starting to reach capacity for how many differently sized wardrobes it could hold. Nervous about seeing my co-workers who hadn't seen me since I was much smaller, I perhaps counterintuitively started shopping for something fabulous and distinctive to wear my first day back, ultimately selecting an attention-grabbing pink suit, something that would be totally over the top in our casual office. I couldn't hide out while wearing neon Barbie pink, feeling like my extra stylish self was the best way I knew to bolster my confidence and signal to anyone who might have something to say that I am happy with who I am and deserving of respect at any size. And then the article continues, but there is a picture of our author with a short fringe, long ginger hair. She is white. She's wearing a fabulous suit. I bet you that suit is actually from Eloquii. Looks great. It's like a baby pink. And she's got a white t-shirt on that says personal essay in black text. You can see her hand peeking out with a tattoo on her hand. She looks cool. She's wearing black boots. If I saw her, I'd say, "Will you be my friend?" And she might say, "Yes." Or she might say, "Go away, I don't know you." Continuing with the article. When the day finally came, I did feel self-conscious, but I felt that way about everything associated with remembering how to be a human again. When it was my time to hand my ID to the woman at the front desk, I felt fumbly and nervous, like I had forgotten how to do basic tasks associated with being in public. Talking to maskless co-workers was surreal. Ultimately, commuting in heels felt weirder than the fact that I've gained weight. And compared to my experience 20 years ago, earlier in the article, she talked about being fat 20 years ago and people being like mean and bigots. And compared to my experience 20 years ago, things do seem slightly better, at least in my bubble. Nobody said anything rude or backhanded to me. I'm an adult now, and there are fewer bullies to hurl fountain drinks at my head. Everybody raved over my pink power suit, which I wouldn't have even been able to wear 20 years ago because hardly anybody sold plus-size clothing. By writing this, I know I'm opening myself up to be reminded of just how many people are still out there dying to share their shitty criticism and hot takes on my body, which, let me be very clear, I do not want, in capitals. But I know I'm not the only one struggling with returning to the world with a very different body. And I want everyone else navigating this experience to know that they are not alone. And they are not any less valuable than they were before they gained weight. A girlfriend recently told me that every time she sees someone who she hasn't seen before the pandemic, she finds herself wondering, are they thinking about my body? And they might be, fleetingly, if it's changed in obvious ways. But so much has changed, fundamentally shifted during this pandemic, and we're watching to see how the world will resettle on its axis. No one is coming back the same as they were before. When we are finally able to climb out of survival mode after this traumatic globe-changing event, I'm hoping most people will be far more concerned about how to acclimate back into their long-abandoned routines, how to fortify their depleted mental health, how to honour those who we have lost by relearning the little things we didn't know were what added up to make us human. I hope it's soul stuff we'll be focused on, not bodies. I do want to get back to a more active lifestyle because, well, movement feels good. But whether I eventually lose the weight or I gained or not, and if I do, I will miss you, massive boobs. I have to do my best to accept my body where it is every step of the way. Because honestly, what's the alternative? Stewing in self-hate? Accepting the fucked up messages we're fed our whole lives and feeling the way they want me to feel about my body? It's been a long 2 years. I simply refuse to waste any more time. The end. Emily McCombs is the deputy editor of HuffPost Personal. She writes and edits first-person essays in topics in all areas included identity, race, gender, sexuality, love, relationships, sex, parenting, family, addiction, mental health, and body politics. She is based in New York, and she eats some hot dogs because New Yorkers eat hot dogs. Isn't my New York accent so good? Yes. So just a little caveat before you read that. The beginning, if you do want to read the beginning of the article and you heard a little bit about the end, she's correlating a change in her lifestyle to her weight gain. And it could be that is what has directly caused her gaining weight, but it could be other things. So we need to always try to examine the connections that we make to fatness and health, especially when we're blaming ourselves, because we've got this idea of what we eat and how we move our body. It's a simple equation. And if you eat more food than your body needs, you will gain weight. Well, that's not necessarily true. Of course, it is true sometimes, but our bodies are actually a lot more complicated, and fatness and health is way more complicated than what we have been taught in society. And so, I see it a lot of the times. People say, I'm unhealthy or I am unfit, and it's because I've gained weight. Or I stopped going to the gym and it made me fat. And how do we know? How do we really know? We don't. We're making guesses. And is it helpful? Because are you blaming yourself? Are you making it about body size when it it could be increased stress, especially like, I hear people say, I've been in a global pandemic. I also have given a birth to a child. I also broke my leg last summer, and I've been suffering from depression, and my mum is really sick, and all this sort of stuff. And now I'm out of breath when I climb the stairs. And it's like, And they say, oh, it's because I've put on weight. We need to get a little bit more curious, is what I'm saying. Like, is it just that you've put on weight? Is it that at all? Or is it that you are experiencing a shit ton of different stresses, changes in your life, all sorts of things are going on. And so I just really want to caution us against that very simple look at, I am fat because I am bad and I didn't do the things I need to do to stop myself being fat. And one thing we do know about moving our bodies, exercise, is that it really doesn't lead to reducing our weight. Nothing does long term, but moving our bodies really is something that it could be good for our health. Not always, because sometimes people go overboard. Sometimes people are not able to move their bodies for various different reasons, or it's not healthy for them to move their bodies for whatever reasons. Anything that you say is it's very kind of nuanced, right? And we have to look at it less black and white and more shades of grey. So let's talk about this. Okay, so if you're in the same situation, I want you to know that you are so far from being alone. You are so far. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, many people are asking me these questions around this. My body has changed, and now I'm nervous. I'm frightened. I'm anxious. I'm stressed out. I feel shame. Basically, I feel shame. I know I have to go and see other people. I can't avoid it unless I stay in my house forever and wear a bag over my head and a tent over my body or whatever. People are going to see me, and it's going to be awful. And the reality is, people do judge others, right? We all do. We all judge people and perceive people. And in that article, Emily wrote the word perceived. And that word is really big for me because, with gender stuff anyway, is that I don't want to be perceived. And I can't help it, If someone can see me, hear me, feel me, smell me, and my poo breath, then they can perceive me, and I can try and manipulate the way they perceive me, good or bad, but they will perceive me. And no matter what, say if I, say with gender stuff, I want someone to perceive me as non-binary, whatever someone can perceive me as. I don't know what non-binary looks like, but because non-binary is not a look, but I want them to perceive me as such. And it doesn't matter if I do all the things to look non-binary. People are going to perceive me the way that they perceive me, right? And the same way with weight. People are going to be perceiving you and therefore making a judgment based on their own stuff, right? And the thing is, most of the time we don't actually know. And most of the time, the extent that people are spending their time judging you is probably different from what it feels like. It feels almost like, we're going to go back to work, we're going to go into the office, and the whole office, they're already there before us. The whole office just drops silent. People, mouths are agape. The phone stopped ringing. There you are, and you've put on weight. Someone in HR lets out a shriek. Oh my God, did you see how fat she is now? That's what it feels like. People rush to the what do you call it, like MSN 20 years later, Slack channels being like, oh my God, they are so fat now. oh my God, let's get a focus group to talk about how fat this person is. That's what it feels like. And we know that that's not going to happen, but it might as well happen because it's, very stress inducing. And so, that could happen. I don't know, maybe in a movie, but it's probably not going to happen like that, right? And the outcomes of you going back to work, you seeing people you've not seen for a long time, is they are going to perceive you, because we all perceive each other, and they are going to perceive you and judge you negatively, judge you positively, or don't care, not thinking about you, thinking about what to make for dinner tonight, and are worried maybe about you judging them. I'm going to say most people are falling into worried that you're judging them or something like that. And that's not to say, of course, there are people who are going to be like, oh my God, they're fat, and I don't think so, But what do we think that the people who are thinking, wow, they gained weight and it looks bad, what do they feel about themselves? What do you think what is their internal dialogue going on? If they are judging you negatively, they are perceiving you, and it's okay if they perceive you and they notice that your weight has changed or there is a big change in your appearance, because that's difficult to not notice, right? And just someone noticing that is not necessarily a bad thing. But some people, what if they do say in their head, wow, they are unattractive because they are fat, or they have put on weight, or they have changed in a way that I think is not good? What types of people are they? I'm not saying they're bad people, because fucking hell, that's been me like most of my life, being like, look at her over there, but when I was like that, I really didn't like myself, and there was a lot going on with me, and I wouldn't necessarily want to be friends with me at that point. Yeah. And what about the people who think, oh, they gained weight? Okay, whatever. I'm so pleased to see them. I wonder if they're judging me. What do those types of people think about themselves? The people who are, I feel like they're more real, more compassionate, because, these evil villain type people, they don't often exist, I don't think. I don't think people are, they're cackling, being like, I'm going to be judging every single person who walks by, and I think everyone is unattractive and horrible. And there's not that many of those kind of just soulless people out there. I think most people have compassion, right? And they might perceive that you've gained weight, but I want you to think about how, if you saw a colleague, someone you cared about, or even mate, you don't even know them, and you noticed that they had gained weight, would you, it depends where you're on your journey. You might say, I'd be like, oh, that's horrible, blah, blah, blah. And that's fine. That just gives us information about where you are at in your journey and what work you need to do. Would you be thinking like that? Or would you be thinking, oh my goodness, I bet that was really hard for them to come in. And I hope they're feeling okay. And, what would you be thinking? And I was before the podcast thinking, what would I think? And my thoughts would be like selfish thoughts of, oh my God, I get a new cool fat friend, or, oh my God, can we share a wardrobe? Like, it's almost like I would have gained something, because I would see it as something cool and fun and exciting, but also I wouldn't be saying that to them, because I know that they might be like, I don't feel good, I wouldn't be rushing up to them being like, oh my God, we can share wardrobes now. Oh my God, how big are you? Are you like my size? But I would just be thinking like, ooh, another one of another new cool fun person. That's what I'd probably be thinking. And also be thinking, I hope that they feel okay. I hope they don't feel too stressed. I hope they know that I don't think that they're bad, So, and I think that that's what most people, not necessarily I hope we can exchange clothes now, but most people are compassionate. They have levels of compassion, right? And they might have their own shit in regards to fat phobia. But what is the reality in regards to, the workplace? Is it going to be that kind of phone stop ringing everyone, if someone drops their coffee in shock when they see you? Is it that? And, by the way, it's true. We live in a fat phobic society, right? I don't want people to think that I'm not saying that we live in a fucking violently fat phobic society. We do. Absolutely. And lots of people have compassion. So your perception of I'm stressed and worried and anxious about going into society as a fat person is based in reality, right? It's true. We've all seen, if you're fat, we've experienced, we've seen what it's like to be in a fat body. It's not fun, right? It's not fun. So it makes sense. So you're not being ridiculous by saying, or feeling nervous or anything. But also, the two truths can be two realities at the same time is people can hold bias and people can try and work towards being compassionate as well. But that might not be a reality. You might work with a bunch of bellends. You might be like, Vinny, that'd be great if my colleagues had compassion, but they don't. They're dicks. And in that case, then, that really, really sucks. That's not fun. Yeah. And I wonder as well, what about those who are noticing you blossom into someone who's at more peace with themselves? If you are working on this stuff, we think about how people are noticing bad things about us, quote unquote bad. But what if people are noticing the beautiful things in regards to the acceptance that we're growing for ourselves, the don't give a fuck attitude that we're growing, the resilience, and yeah, the big thing is because of the panini that we've been in, most people are stressed. They're worried about going back into society. They're worried about people judging them. They're worried about how they've changed. And so I think about it all the time. And I've said it on the podcast many times. We're all walking around being like, I want to be loved and accepted and I don't want to be judged. And we're looking at that person on the street thinking, I hope they're not judging me. I hope they love me and accept me. Not that person specifically necessarily, but people in society. I hope I'm loved and not judged, and I'm accepted. And that person who you're walking by thinking the same things. Or they just looked at me. Do they think my hair's shit? Do they think that my lipstick looks stupid? Do they think that this leather jacket is ugly? Yeah. And so, with the reality is that there will be people judging you, and they will be negative, positive, somewhere in the middle, indifferent, whatever. Are people's opinions on you, about you, going to let you stop living? What's more important? People's comfort or your mental health, your mental well-being? What's more important? Other people's comfort or you living your life? And in regards to other people's comfort of having to perceive you as a human, you living your life is more important than them being distressed by being in the presence of a fatty. You're more important than their opinion. That's easier said than done though, right? Easier said than done. And so moving into what can we do to support ourselves? Okay. So easier said than done, having all of me giving you kind of like a fatty pep talk of fuck them people. You're like, yeah, Vinny, yeah, fuck those people. But And so what can we do to support ourselves? And so the author of this HuffPost piece said she went out and bought a fabulous pink suit that she looks great in. And so that is something that she did to support herself. And so if we look at our lives in general, what are our lives doing to support our belief that we are okay, that fatness is okay, that you deserve to live a life? So who's in your life? What people are in your life? Are they supportive of this stuff, or are they raging fat phobes? Can you work towards getting more supportive people in your life? What do you have in your life that's currently supporting the idea that fat bodies are cool? And what do you have in your life that says the opposite? Like even today, lunch break, new program on Netflix. It's so fucking. It's just garbage, right? It's The Ultimatum. I'm sure you might have heard about it already by the time this podcast comes out, but it's like people saying to their spouse, if you don't propose, then I'm gonna dump you. And of course, every person on the show is thin. All the dudes are muscular and normal sized. Normal in quotation marks. Average size, not even average. The guys are, stereotypical attractive guys. The girls are stereotypical attractive girls. Snooze fest. Get some fucking fatties in there. Get some people who look different. I mean, come on, Jesus. Anyway, and so, yet, I will continue to watch it. But imagine if all of my, all of the shows that I watched were things that reaffirm the idea that fat bodies don't exist, because fat people are just erased from TV shows and movies and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So, and that's just one example, right? That could lead me to, say if I binge watch it and I watch like 10 episodes at once, I might notice in a few days' time, I don't feel so good about myself. What could have triggered that? And I can go back and be like, oh yeah, it was that TV show. Or, oh yeah, it's because I spent time with that family member who hates fat people. Not that I have family members who I speak to that hate fat people, but you see what I'm getting at, okay? So, can you do something to plan in advance, like this author did? Buy something that you feel great in, or go through your wardrobe and find something that you feel great in. If it's not that, maybe get your hair done, get your nails painted, do it yourself, put on some lippy. Whatever it is, it might make you feel good. None of those things might be for you. Whatever it is for you, putting on a nice little suit or some nice shoes, or, I don't know, whatever it is that makes you feel good. And it's probably different for everyone. Also, tell yourself that you can, if it does feel like when you're there, if it does feel too much, you can go and give yourself breathers, and you can go and just hang out in the washrooms and remove yourself from the situation. And especially if it's something that if you're going to an event. If you're going to an event, I always if I get nervous, because I might get anxious about something, an event or something, I say to myself, listen, I'm just going to go for half an hour. I'm just going to go for 10 minutes. And if I hate it, I can just immediately leave. And giving yourself that permission to remove yourself if you feel too anxious. And I know with work, you can't do that, right? Like you work in an office and you're having a meeting with your boss and you're like, do you know what, boss? I've had enough of this. I'm just going to go hang out in the washrooms for a bit because you are making me anxious. So I know it's not possible all the time to be able to do that, but can you support yourself in a way like that? Can you do something to build up to it? If it is feeling really, really big, can you do something to kind of build up to it? Say if it's an event you're going to, can you go to a smaller event? Or can you wear your outfit at home and see how it makes you feel? Or can you share a headshot of what you look like now on social media and then share a full body shot later, or whatever it is that you're doing. So not necessarily just going back to work, but what can you do to take a small step to help yourself? Because this could be so huge and overwhelming. And if that's the case, supporting yourself in the way of taking smaller steps to build up to it is great if you can do that. And also realize afterwards that you may feel big feelings, like you may feel shame, like you go to the office, you come back, you might feel shame, you might feel really proud of yourself. A huge different range of emotions that you could be feeling. You could be feeling rage because someone came up to you and said, oh, look at you, you're really fat. You know, hopefully that's not going to happen. You could feel sad because of this. And expect that, expect that there could be a big range of emotions, and give yourself some gorgeous self-care if that's possible for you. And so I know that when I do certain things, it's going to mean that my brain is going to be done for the day, and I'm not going to have the capacity to look after myself in the way that I would want. Like, for example, making myself dinner or doing anything. And so after a big day, I'd be like, okay, well, I plan to order a takeout. And I plan to do nothing apart from watch this trashy show on Netflix, and expect that as normal. So we've got support yourself. Next, let's interrogate our own internalized fat phobia. So if you've put on weight and you think that means bad things about you, that means that you are probably struggling with internalized fat phobia. Now, it can be that you have put on weight and you just know that life is going to be harder because we live in a fat phobic world. And that's absolutely true, right? And so in that case, you probably don't have a lot of fat phobic beliefs that we need to dig into, because you'd be like, I don't care about my body. My body is fine no matter what weight I am. But if you notice that you are making it mean things about you, you notice that you're feeling really bad. Let's see if we can pull that apart a little bit. Like, okay, so what does it mean about you that you have a bigger body? And then answer that question and see what comes up. It means that I'm a failure, that I'm lazy, that I'm greedy. Whatever comes up. Why does it mean that you're lazy? Is that true? Is it based in reality? Are all fat people lazy? What is lazy? Oh my God, then we're going to go into capitalism and being like, is it okay to be lazy? And does laziness even exist? La 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 la, right? And so going into these threads of what am I actually feeling? And start kind of unpicking those beliefs that are coming up. And those beliefs that you hold about fatness. Next, grieve. Get angry or sad or whatever it is about the reality that the world is fat phobic as fuck. People do value smaller bodies in society. That's just a fact, right? Life is easier for people who have smaller bodies. For many different reasons. The list is endless. But that does not mean having a smaller body mean that people are better, and larger bodied people are not as good and morally inferior. That's not the truth. But society does everything it can to reinforce that message that is true. And so I like to think about, like, do we want to be on the side of the oppressor? Do you want to support fat phobia and in turn support sexism and classism and racism and capitalism by agreeing with the assessment that fatness is bad and that gaining weight means you're lazy and greedy and worthless and blah, 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 unattractive? Do we want to be on the side of the oppressor and these oppressive systems? No. I don't know about you, but fuck no, I don't want to. And can we take that shame that fat phobia puts on us as fat people and direct it back out? Because that shame that you're feeling around fatness was never your shame to hold. It is the shame of a system that is using that powerful emotion, that painful emotion, which is shame, to keep you small, literally and figuratively. Brené Brown, who I don't necessarily like after revealing her fat phobia-ness, but Brené Brown says, shame cannot survive the light. And I think about that all the time. As soon as I start talking about the things that I'm so deeply ashamed about, they wither. They lose strength. Sometimes they evaporate. Most of the time it's kind of, it loses its strength a little bit. So talk about it. Talk about how you're feeling. Can you talk about it? It could be that you're just writing it out for yourself. But can you talk to someone that you feel safe with? Your therapist, another fat person. Caveat to this, make sure that you're not talking about how much you hate your body to someone who has a bigger body, because that's not appropriate, right? Because then what does that make you? You're making someone who do the labor, who is experiencing fat phobia worse than if you have a smaller body. So, my preference is to talk about it with someone who is, who has privilege that, is size privilege, and gets it, right? Or my therapist. And I know therapy is not available for everyone. But talking to people who are safe, if you can. And it could be that you even say to your colleagues, hey, I was really nervous coming in today because I put on weight. And your colleagues are probably going to be like, oh my fucking God, yes, me too. If your colleagues are bellends, and obviously don't do that because they might be like, whatever. But I bet so many people are going to be feeling very similar to you, And if it might not be weight, it might be, I've really aged in the last couple of years. The stress has really, made my face look different. My mental health is not what it used to be, and I'm really struggling with daily tasks. How are people going to perceive me if I can't finish a whole day at the office because my mental health is not good enough? They're going to see me as da-da-da-da. And the next colleague is along is thinking, oh my God, since last time I was in the office, my relationship has broken up and now I need to spend more time getting the kids from daycare, and so I'm going to have to leave early every day. And what they're going to think that I'm a freeloader and I'm lazy. And then the next colleague's over thinking, I've put on weight and it's just, And not, big thing here is the world is awful to fat people, kills us, and should we let the oppressors win by hiding away, by feeling shame? I say, nah, stick it to them as much as you can, and also giving yourself the grace of, this is really hard, and sometimes I do need to just not go out or whatever. And the other thing is, sometimes you need to do things which might go against your values in order to keep yourself safe. For example, this is like a little example, wearing shapewear. You might intellectually be like, do you know what, shapewear fucking Spanx can kiss my ass. It's just fat phobic as hell. It's just making people squeeze their bodies into unrealistic beauty ideals. They're uncomfortable. They suck. But if I don't wear Spanx to this wedding, I'm not going to be able to wear the dress because I don't feel comfortable about myself. Long term, I want to move away from wearing Spanx, but today I'm not there. I'm intellectually thinking about this, and I'm deciding for my safety, for my mental health, for my well-being, for my happiness, I'm going to wear a pair of Spanx. And it does not mean I'm a bad fatty for doing that. I'm a bad fat activist. I don't believe in fat liberation. It means that this is what I need to do to survive this thing and to feel okay. That's okay, right? We don't want to be like forcing ourselves to be these perfect people, because it's not real, right? It's not going to happen. So whatever you need to do, even if it goes against your kind of where you want to be, that's okay. That's okay. And it's the whole kind of, I think about white supremacy and the idea that we need to, sense of urgency, and we need to be, and perfectionism, and we need to, decide that we're going to accept our bodies and do it and be perfect about it. And not only is that white supremacy culture, but it's not realistic, It's not realistic. And what it does is it breeds shame. And it makes us feel like shit. And I think we've all had enough in our lives of, things making us feel like shit, right? So if you need to do whatever you need to do, just do it, okay? You got my permission. Not that you need my permission, but there you go, you have it. Okay, so let's round up. I've got this hair on my face, like underneath my lip, and sometimes I feel it. It's like a long hair, but I can't see it. And the day that I can find it, it's just going to be such a joyous day. I know about you, but I know a lot of you, because I've asked on Instagram, if you're gross like me and you love things like pimple popping and earwax removal and, all that type of stuff. And the main reason why I want a partner is so that I can pop their pimples. And the only reason I want a romantic partner, no, not really, not the only reason, but it's because I don't have any of that stuff. Like I don't have, like I'm not really hairy. I don't really get spots. I bought a camera to look inside my ear because I have eczema in my ear, hoping to see some beautiful stuff in there. Maybe like a dead spider or something cool. Nothing. My ear canals are pristine, red from eczema, but not even dead skin. It's so annoying. I don't get ingrown hairs. I don't have anything cool on my body. It's so upsetting. Oh, I can't believe it. Oh, I even took that fucking camera microscope thing and was like looking at my pubes to try and find like some ingrown. Nothing. But anyway, the only thing that I might vaguely get is like, a random long hair on your face. That is just like Christmas Day for me, because it doesn't happen often, because it has to grow without you seeing it for it to get long enough for it to be classified as a long hair. And so, I'm always like, oh, is today the day that I find that long hair that I haven't been able to see until now? And it's like a once a year occurrence. Really is. I got excited when I was getting ready today because I saw this black hair on my face, but it turned out it was just, I don't know, a Dougal hair or something. And it was just so, my heart leaped with joy at this sight, and immediately was disappointed when I touched it and it just fell away. Tell you what, if you know anyone who, I think I need to start a career in cosmetology or something, waxing vulvas so that I can go about with the, get that microscope out and get like the ingrown hairs, or, my dream is getting a partner and them getting a botfly. That would be, And I mean, that's not going to happen. But you never know, dreams could come true. Because they'd be like, I need to go to the hospital to get this botfly out. I'd be like, bitch, no, you don't. I've watched 75 hours of botfly removal videos. I've got the Vaseline. We're going to cover it up. Just suffocate the botfly. Tomorrow, we're going to pull it out. It's going to be great. Maybe you might want to let it live for a little bit longer, let it get bigger, if I'm feeling a bit mean about it, Anyway, what was I talking about? I was getting onto the rounding up what we were talking about today. Sorry if that really upset and grossed you out. Yes, I'm just making people think that I'm a bad person today. I'm talking shit about this guy's breath, and now saying horrible things about why I want a partner anyway. Oh. Yeah, will you leave me a review on the internet, would you? And put my name in there, Vinny, Vinny. Vinny. Yeah, it makes me kind of sad when people presume it's Vinnie, because IE is the feminized version, and I want it to not be feminine. I want it to be masculine, and I want it to be gender neutral, and I want it to not be feminine. So it's Vinny, please and thank you. Okay, let's round it up. So seeing people after gaining weight, and what can we do about this? So first thing I want to point out is that people do judge. People do think that bigger bodies are not as worthy. Okay, we live in a violently fat-phobic world, and the reality is life is more difficult if you weigh more. So in regards to judgment, there's three things that are going to happen when someone judges you. They're going to judge you negatively, they're going to judge you positively, they're going to judge you like they don't care, they're not thinking about it, they're thinking about what to make for dinner, or maybe they're worried about you judging them. So if someone is judging you negatively, what does that say about them? If someone's judging you positively, what does that say about them? We can't control what people are thinking in their brains. I wish we could. We can't control what people are thinking in their brains. But the idea that we need to stop living our lives for fear that people are going to judge us negatively is letting the oppressors win, letting the bigots win. And so we can do certain things to support ourselves in this process. So first, we can support our mental health when we're doing this. We can do things to help with our self-care. We can surround ourselves with people who love and accept you for no matter what you weigh, and people who are fat positive. Next, we can interrogate our own internalized fat phobia and see if we can pull out some of the stuff that we may be thinking. What do you believe that having a bigger body means about you? Does it make you a bad person? Does it make you unattractive? Does it make you unhealthy? Are these the beliefs that you have? And if that's the case, we can start pulling that little thread and seeing what's under there, and see if we can start untangling that fat phobia. And finally, grieving and feeling angry and embracing that and the sadness that the reality is that the world is fat phobic as fuck, and that's not okay. How can we take that shame of fat phobia and stop it from being something that's internalized and push it back out to where it belongs? And that is with the oppressive systems that say that having a big body is bad. Shame cannot survive the light, as Brené Brown says. So talking about this with people who are safe could be really helpful for you. Okay, so that is our episode today. I hope you had fun hanging out with me. And I hope the sound is better as I'm stroking the mic, so maybe you can feel this. Feel this? Hear this? Me. The mic has got like a thing around it, and it's lifting up a little bit, and I want to pull it off. Anyway, I won't. Okay, I won't. All right. Okay, so I guess I'll see you in the next episode. All right, goodbye. Stay fierce, fatty. See you later, crocodiles. Bye. Thanks for listening to the episode. And if you feel ready to get serious about this work and want to know when the doors open to Fierce Fatty Academy, which is my signature program where I teach all about how to overcome your fat phobic beliefs and learn to love your fat body, then go to fiercefatty.com/waitlist. Again, that is fiercefatty.com/waitlist to get your name on the waitlist for when Fierce Fatty Academy, my signature program, opens.